I think it's impossible to make an electric hot hatch. Hot hatches used to be light, simple, revvy and cheap.
But performance EVs tend to be big, heavy, soulless and expensive.
But this Alpine might be about to change my mind because no one has built a small hot hatch electric car like this before. You see, for the very first time in the history of humankind, this is an electric car that actually works out cheaper than its petrol competitors. So you have to move quickly, otherwise that could all change. I'll explain why later. This car is actually based on one of my favourite electric cars ever made, the new Renault 5, but Alpine has changed a few things to actually make it worse, and one of the biggest culprits is in there. But if this car is as fun to drive and as quick as a proper hot hatch should be, then I might be able to forgive all that. And it could even change my mind about electric hot hatches for good. I'm Matt Watson, and you're watching Carwow. Forget about the petrol versus electric argument. This is one of the best looking electric cars I've seen in years. It's instantly recognisable, isn't it? It's based on the Renault 5, but there's been some Alpination. You've got the Alpine badge there, you've got more aggressive front bumper, these air intakes, and there's these crosses everywhere. So it all looks like it's been shot in a game of Call of Duty. Now this is actually inspired by rally cars, you know, when they taped up the headlights and the fog lights and stuff. There's even more rally inspired goodness down the side. The rear doors have these indentations in them to like mimic the air vents on the Renault 5 Turbo 2. It's fabulous. Now normally when you get a hot hatch they don't reskin the rear doors like that. It's incredible. And the other bits they've done as well, like hot hatches, you have flared wheel arches, yes, check, we've got those, and you get some side skirts. I mean, these are massive side skirts, and you get new wheels, check, once again, 19-inch alloys as standard, which look awesome. Do you know what? Fronts, that's a 9. Side, I'm going to give it a 10. Round the back here, it's getting a 5, a Renault 5, because it really is just like the normal car. So all this part is just like the normal Renault 5, but this strip, this little gurney spoilery thingy, that's new on the Alpine. Obviously you've got the Alpine badging, and it does have a new rear bumper with a fake diffuser going on. But compared to the rest of the car, it's just not quite as different, but still cool. Could argue though, Alpine was a bit lazy with the rear end. They'd run out of steam from the front and the side. But does it have the go to match the show? Back when I worked, lad, hot hatches didn't have fancy new engines like the Toyota GR Yaris. No, they used to just borrow a larger engine from a saloon car in range. For example, the Alfa 147 GTA had the V6 engine from the 164. The VW Golf R32, the V6 engine from a Phaeton and Touareg. The Renault Clio V6 had a V6 from a Laguna saloon. Alpine has done exactly the same thing with this A290. You see that under there? That isn't the motor from the Renault 5, it's the motor from the larger Megane and Scenic. Oh yes, as a result you've got 180 horsepower and 285 newton meters of torque. Now there is a slight issue with it. They did have to like alter the subframe slightly over the Renault 5 to fit that bigger motor in, but it's a whole lot cheaper than building a new motor from scratch. Smart move that. But there's something a little bit different about this particular car. You see, this badge here, right, GTS, this car actually has 220 horsepower and 300 newton meters of torque. So is it quick? The Alpine A290 is designed to be just as quick as petrol-powered hot hatches. So it has similar performance figures on paper to a Volkswagen Polo GTI and a Mini John Cooper Works. Like those cars, it's front-wheel drive, and it also has a launch control system. So you put it into drive, left foot on the brake, then you press the OV button here on the steering wheel. It says launch control ready. I'll just floor the throttle, release the brake, and we'll see how quick it does 0 to 60 miles an hour and the standing quarter mile. Go. Oh. It's managing traction really well considering it's wet. Now a little bit of torque steer. We're going. Woo! Can't really see. Where's the wipers? There. Keep going. Yes! 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 Oh, okay. 0 to 60, 6.2 seconds. Standing quarter mile, 14.9 seconds. It's all right. How does it compare to its competitors? Well, I've actually drag raced Polo GTI and a Mini John Cooper Works, and these are the times that those cars got. The Alpine A290 seems like a bit of a steal on paper. So the entry-level 180 horsepower GT costs from this. The GT Performance with 220 horsepower costs from that. And this GTS costs from that much. That's even cheaper than cars like the Mini EV JCW or Abarth 600e. And it's even on a par with proper petrol hot hatches like the 204 horsepower Mini Cooper S and 207 horsepower Volkswagen Polo GTI, both of which have been around for a while and are petrol, so are usually cheaper. Does that mean that Alpine's finally cracked the code? No. It's actually nothing to do with Alpine, but has everything to do with the British government. You see, this is one of the few EVs that get the full £3,750 government grant, and that helps keep the price down. So here it is compared to its competitors, because it affects leasing as well. What's interesting though is that the depreciation on the cars is less than what you'd be paying on leasing, so if you can, you're better off buying them outright and then selling them on. And with that in mind, if you run the numbers, the Abarth is actually the better value car, even though it costs more to buy from the outset. Do you know what? All those numbers are making me need to lie down. It's very easy to get frazzled, and that's why you really need to head to Carwow, because we'll show you the latest offers on all the cars so you can make sure that you're paying the right price. Now, to do that, just click on the pop-out banner or scan the QR code on screen now, and there's a link in the description where you can go and explore all the latest deals on Carwow. Make sure you do that, because you don't want to end up making the wrong choice, do you? It could be a nightmare. Anyway, enough about that. Let's find out if this Alpine feels like good enough value on the inside. This Alpine does exactly what a hot hatch should. So it takes the general interior of the standard Renault 5 and then just adds some A290 zhuzhiness. So we've got all the good stuff of the Renault 5, such as the screens, which are easy to operate. You've got physical climate control buttons, which is a win in this day and age, and the cool headlining as well, and the general overall shape and feel of things. However, you do have some shiny Alpine bits like the badge on the steering wheel. You've got A290 here, you've got Alpine there, you've got Alpine on the seats, different trims as well to just make it feel a little bit more special, but they haven't got it right in every regard. For instance, this new steering wheel. For starters, it's slightly squared off, so it doesn't feel as nice to hold as the normal one in the standard Renault 5. Then it's got this button on here which looks like it's kind of cool. What it is for overtaking. It gives you full throttle, which you can also achieve by giving the car full throttle using the normal throttle. So why? It's not useful like an M1 button in a BMW, but the worst change of all that they've done is here. So there's this new centre console, and it sort of looks like funky and futuristic, but you have drive select buttons rather than the select on the steering wheel of the Renault 5. Now I can understand why they might have done that, because the Renault 5 has a bit too many stalks, but it's always better to have the drive control there, I feel, than here. Especially when doing this has meant they've got rid of the standard car's cup holder. There is no cup holder in this car. I got into it the other day with a hot cup of coffee and went to drive off. I was like, where do I put this? I couldn't quite fit in the door bin. I had to put it between my legs, which meant that drive was a little bit nerve-wracking. Alpine, why have you made this car less usable than the Renault 5? It's a mistake, and doing that could be a particular mistake under certain circumstances. As you'd expect for a hot hatch, you've got upgraded brakes over the standard Renault 5. In fact, the front discs are taken from the A110 sports car. The brakes are by Brembo, and you've got 320mm discs up front, which are 20mm bigger than on the standard Renault 5, and they're gripped by 4 piston calipers. At the rear, 288mm discs gripped by a single piston caliper. I've noticed that the brake discs on here look rather rusty. Still, I do like the blue calipers. Surely they'll improve the car's stopping performance, right? Let's do a brake test from 60 miles an hour. Conditions are awful. If it performs well here, I'm going to be very impressed. Let's find out what happens. 3, 2, 1. Can it do less than 35 metres? My goodness. 34 metres in the wet is absolutely brilliant. Question is though, am I going to feel quite so impressed with the way this car handles? It needs to be fun, remember. It's a hot hatch. Well, so they say. The French are famous for making great fun to drive hot hatches. Renault in particular, actually, with its Renault Sport Méganes and Renault Sport Clios, and obviously Renault owns Alpine, and they've done quite a lot to this car. So they've given it a wider track, they've made the suspension stiffer, they've beefed it anti-roll bars, and it's got quicker steering. It's a good recipe. Should be fun, right? Well, do you know what? This thing handles well. It stays flat through the bends, you can go quickly, it's got lots of grip, it's darty, but there is a problem, and It's the fact that ultimately it doesn't feel that much more fun than the standard Renault 5, that if you're buying it and paying the premium looking for a thrilling drive, I don't think it's necessarily worth it. Now, there is a slight issue with weight when you compare this to like petrol alternatives. You know, it's like 1,480 kilos, which is 150 kilos heavier than a petrol Mini JCW, and it's like 180 kilos heavier than a VW Polo GTI. And they do the thing that hot hatches do, which is you've got obviously engine noise and you can rip them through the gears. With this, you don't have any gears, so that's one bit of fun gone. And as for the noise, well, I quite like that noise, and I thought that's quite a good noise. They're basically like enhancing the noise from the motor. I was happy with it until I watched a video that Tiff Needell did on this car, and he said that it reminds him of a tube pulling into a station or pulling out of one. And now I can't unhear that. So thanks, Tiff, you've ruined it for me. That's not all. You see, one of the greatest things about hot hatches from Renault Group in the past, like the Renault Sport Clio 197, was how adjustable they were on the throttle. So you're just going into a corner and you just like lift the throttle slightly and the nose tightens, and you know, it feels agile, it feels a bit loose, it feels a little bit leery, whereas this is just like, you know, it's quite unflappable. I don't know if it's to do with the weight distributions. I mean, it's not perfect 50-50, but it's better balanced than an old school hot hatch. Also, because you've got quite a lot of weight low down because of the skateboard design with the battery, you've got a lower centre of gravity. I don't know whether that's something to do with it, but it's definitely just not quite as like alive or alert as you'd want from a hot hatch that's been developed by a company that is famous for producing the very best. Do you know what Renault, well, Alpine really needed to do with this car? They need to add something like that synthetic gear shift that Hyundai's added to their Ioniq 5N. We need an extra dimension with these electric cars because you're desperately missing something by not having an internal combustion engine, and that was always part of the fun of an old school hot hatch, just wringing their necks. Now, don't get me wrong, this car drives very, very well, but it's just not as exciting as I was really hoping it would be. But maybe it's me, maybe I'm getting it all wrong, because actually you've got a driving coach in this car's infotainment system. I mean, that shows their intent, and it tells you how to do like lift off oversteer, but I'm not really getting any action here on these roads, and I think you need to do some pretty serious maneuvers to make it happen. So let's go try that out somewhere where I've got a bit more room in case things go wrong. Thing is, to make it go really sideways, you need it to be wet and you have to give it a bung like this. And then it'll sort of do it like but you can't be messing around like that on the road. The problem is that when you're driving normally, and like with some of the hot hatches, like the very best, such as a Ford Fiesta ST, the slightest lift of the throttle and it has the nose tucking. It doesn't with this. It seems set up very much for stability and even understeer. So, you know, when you're on the road, it's not quite as much fun as you think it might be. Ultimately, I just don't think this has quite the playful nature that you really expect from a hot hatch. And the problems don't end there. These cells look really, really cool, but they do just extend a little bit too far. So sometimes when you get in and out, you end up banging your shin on them. And obviously you drag your blooming trousers over them as well. And when it's dirty like today, you get filthy. Plus, a few times I snap them off the carbide tread on them when getting out. Oh dear, you have to suffer for your art. I hate the start button being there. It's a bit awkward, and especially when you're going like start and drive. I mean, why do we even need a start button anyway? The amount of times I got out of this car and just like forgot to turn it off. I've got a Tesla Model 3, you see, so it just does it sensibly. Just sit down, press the brake and go into drive, fine. Why do I have to press start and stop? Why? There's no door bins here in the back. The door bins in the front aren't great, and the glove box is small. Fold the rear seats down. Put them back, the belts get trapped. One of the things about a front wheel drive hot hatch is that you can spin up the front wheels, create a load of tyre smoke, you know, show off. However, you can't really do that in this car, because while you can turn off the stability control, and it says you can turn off the traction control, it's never actually off. Look, I've got it off, supposedly. Now, I'm gonna floor the throttle. It's a wet surface, surely loads of tyre spin, right? Not a bit, not a single bit. What I'm going to do now is turn the wheel, full lock, and do it. Even there, I should have had one tyre fire, not a bit of it. Let's go the other way. Stamp on it. No, not a bit. What? The reversing camera is really low down, it doesn't have a washer and it gets covered in grime, so you have to wipe it off with your finger. And even when you do wipe it off, you will see that the definition is so low, you still think it's dirty. Watch this. Terrible. I'm going to be so blunt, I might get this video demonetized. In the back, this Alpine A290 is suffers all the same problems as the Renault 5, surprise, surprise. So headroom's tight, knee room's even tighter, and footwell's even tighter still. Look, that is not comfy at all, and shoulder room is not good. You're not going to be able to go 3 people in the back at once. I mean, look at this, right? I know it's a small car, but you can sometimes squeeze in. But come on, guys, jump in. Lewis can't even get in. Come on, get in.
Oh, I can't get my feet under the seat.
No, you can't, can you? It's just... You've got to shut the door, that's a test. Are you all right, Lewis?
No. That's unpleasant.
Should we exit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
Do you know what? It's not great when it comes to fit the baby seat either. Here's a clip from the Renault 5. Oh dear. I mean, one of the things about hot hatches is that they give you the opportunity to like con your other half. Oh yeah, let's just buy this practical little hatchback. It'll be absolutely fine. Yeah, and it's a little bit more expensive, but don't worry about it. With this, they're just going to go, Matt, it's not practical. We can't have it. That's a real shame. And do you know what? There's some things that are just like basic that they've mucked up in here. Like modern car, this is all we've got for phone charging in the back. An old 12 volt. Where are the USB-Cs? Or even just normal USBs? Rear windows. Oh, friggin' hell. Why does an electric car turn itself off? It's got a massive battery. Anyhow. I know it runs a separate 12 volt for the internal stuff. But anyway, look, they don't really go all the way down. There's no armrest in the back here. Surely the boot isn't as bad. Surprisingly, the boot is actually pretty decent. Look. See? Nice square shape as well. In terms of actual dimensions, it's 326 litres of space. So this one is slightly less, about 20 or so litres less, because you've got a subwoofer underneath the boot floor there, but still large enough. By comparison, an Abarth 600e has 360 litres of space, but a Minis is like just over 200 litres, way smaller and less practical than this. You do have quite a big load lip to lift stuff over though, and there's not really many features. But, shall we see how many suitcases you can fit in it? Well actually, let's just go to my video of the Renault 5 because it's the same dimensions. Here's a test. That's a win. When it comes to carrying stuff rather than people, this car is actually really good. So you could argue that, yeah, it is practical enough for a hot hatch, but is it practical enough when it comes to driving about in town? Hot hatches are meant to be very easy to drive in town, and obviously this is. It's based on a Renault 5, and just like the Renault 5, you have an insanely tight turning circle. It's so good, it's like 10.2 metres. Look at this, easy peasy U-turn. Yeah. Now, this car may have stiffer suspension than the Renault 5, but actually, I don't find it uncomfortable. And I like its slightly firm stance. They've really done a great job with the suspension on this Alpine have. Some hot hatches, they're just too firm. This one isn't. And generally for driving around, it's great. Visibility is good. Plus, the thing that I really like about it is that it gets lots of attention. And I like that kind of thing. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this kind of job if I didn't like attention, eh? But there is one thing that's bothering me about it, it's the efficiency. So I've been heading this around, well basically I've been driving it like a hot hatch, and I'm averaging 1.5 miles per kilowatt hours, and when you multiply that out by the battery capacity of 52 kilowatt hours, you end up with a real world range of around 80 miles, which is way off the claimed 230. Now I know, yeah, maybe if you're cruising along you'll get much closer to the 230, but the fact of the matter is, with a hot hatch, you want to be thrashing them. You're probably going to go out into the countryside, find some twisty roads, go for a blast. In this, you're going to be watching your range. Now, obviously, if you're in a petrol-powered hot hatch, you are going to burn through your fuel if you're driving quickly. But you know that there's always going to be a petrol station somewhere, and to fill up, you can do it quite quickly. Whereas with this, you might be out in the sticks and there's no rapid charging. And even if there is, it's still going to take quite a while to charge it back up again. And you know what? I actually think that a Tesla Model 3 Performance is better at conserving its energy when you're driving it quickly than this car is. And that gives me an idea. If you're after an electric car which has good performance and is fun to drive, you're better off getting a used Tesla Model 3 Performance. You can get one for the same money as this. Look, here's one I found on Carwow. Now there is the obvious risk with buying an electric car that you want to make sure that it doesn't have a dodgy past, and to do that I'd always recommend doing a car vertical history check. I did one on that Tesla Model 3 on Carwow, came back completely clean, but here's one for a different Model 3 performance. Oh dear, look, it's been involved in an accident. You definitely wouldn't want to buy that. So if you're buying a used car, make sure you do a car vertical history check and use the code CARWOW for 20% off. There's a link in the description of this video. But let's say you don't want a used car. You want a new car, such as this. I do prefer this than its competitors like the Abarth and the Mini. The only problem is that I don't think it's sufficiently fun enough over the normal Renault 5 to justify the premium. I will just get the normal Renault 5 because it's so blooming good. However, there is a reason to go for this that could be worth the extra money, and it's not down to how it drives. It's the way it looks. You just want to own it. So while it does miss slightly on some of the other key elements of a hot hatch, it's definitely got the desirability factor nailed.